Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, so we're gonna have even more changes to Cavalier difficulty. This time we're gonna get a completely new set of buffs for every single class, and I suspect that these are gonna be the buffs that we see fully in the next month event quest, because recently they have started mix matching them. But I think for next month we're probably gonna see all of these new ones because we get a buff for pretty much every single class. I think 1 2 3 4 5 yeah. And today we're going to be going over them, trying to understand them, and either tomorrow or Sunday I will make a video either per class or one longer type of video where I suggest best counters for each of these node combinations in my opinion, because it's always very important to be as prepared as you can and not let these things catch you off guard. So let's start with the Cosmic one. Each time Cosmic attacker lands an attack, they have a 10% chance for each unique buff to gain a Vigilance buff, preventing attacks from missing for 5 seconds. If the attacker has a True Strike, True Sense, or True Accuracy buff, this Vigilance buff lasts for an additional flat 5 seconds. So Vigilance, for those of you who do not know, is a buff that prevents you from missing. It's effectively kind of like logical continuation of True Strike, True Accuracy, or True Sense. Move on. Each time Defender's miss effect is prevented, Cosmic attackers gain an indefinite Fury passive, increasing attack rating by 35% for 10 stacks, max 10 stacks. Every 10 hits on the attacker's combo meter, afflicts them with a Falter passive. Falter causes their attacks to miss and lasts for 3 seconds. When the attacker is struck, Falter is removed. And lastly, Falter effects have been increased by 1 second, and your defensive ability accuracy is reduced by 100% while they are active. So the entire shtick here is going to be either to use champions that have Vigilance or are unable to miss, or have a ton of buffs active so you have a very high chance to consistently keep triggering this Vigilance and bypassing Falter. Now, this Arrogance node is there to forcibly give you chance to prevent miss and stack up these Furies. All in all, I don't think it is going to be as fun as those Armor Break nodes, but I'm more than willing to give this buff a chance. Seems fairly straightforward. Bringing Cosmic Champions get a lot of buffs, ideally unique buffs. Yes, unique buffs. So Venom, Angela, Silver Surfer, Odin seem to be like perfect candidates for these nodes initially, but I'm going to go over all of the Cosmic class and then maybe suggest a couple of non-Cosmic champions as well. Let's move on to the skill one, and skill one I do not like as much, mainly to this last lane, mainly because I play a lot of Suicide Masteries. Let's move on. Martial Discipline. Every 5 critical hits a skill attacker lands purifies all non-damaging debuffs on them. Again, you see, it's non-damaging debuffs, so you're not going to be purifying your Suicide Mastery debuffs. Each time a skill attacker is immune to a debuff or purifies a debuff, gain an indefinite Fury passive, increasing attack rating by 70%, max 5 stacks. It's a fairly potent Fury, so you need to trigger it less times than you do typically with like Cosmic node and most of the other nodes in Cav. Now we have Accident Prone. Every 5 seconds, the attacker is inflicted with a debuff in order of Weakness, Disorient, Armor Break, and then Special Lock, before repeating, each lasting 10 seconds. And additionally to all of that, you obviously have Heal Block passive, which is why I don't like this node at all, because if you're running Suicide Masteries, you're going to be extremely limited in which champions you can bring in. Whereas we do have, let's say, Crossbones and Mole Man now, which will do a fantastic job shrugging off the Suicide debuffs quite early on. It still will disable you from using a ton of different skill champions if you like to run those masteries. So every 5 critical hits, skill attacker lands. So it's very important to crit a lot. Purifies all non-damaging debuffs on them. So purifying is not going to be really an issue, because most of the skill champions have no problem landing crits. Each time skill attacker is immune, you gain Beefy Fury cool, and every 5 seconds. 5 seconds is a very narrow amount of time, and you get Weakness, Disorient, Armor Break, and then Special Lock, which I suppose is fair enough. Again, the passive heal block is something I hate. In general, I think if you're not running those masteries, or if you use the couple of champions and skill class that can effectively play around them, you're probably going to be okay. But yeah, I'm not over the moon with this bit at all. Let's move on to the Mystic one, and there's a ton. Jeepers. Each time a Mystic attacker gains a regeneration effect, power drain 10% of the defender's max power. Okay, cool. So Black Widow, Clairvoyant, or Man-Thing will probably have a bit of field day here. Siphoning Strength. Each time a Mystic attacker inflicts Power Drain, Power Burn, or Power Steal on the defender, gain an indefinite Fury, increasing the attack rating by 35%, max 10 stacks. This ability has 1 second cooldown. That's straightforward. Any Power Control Mystic or any Mystic that can regen in one way, shape, or form. Not too complicated. The defender gains an indefinite protection passive, reducing damage from all sources by 0 to 70%. This ability scales up the defender's current power meter. Okay. So they get protection passives and they take less damage the more power you have. Cool. So you want to dump all your power as quickly as possible. Fair play. Fair play. At least it's Fury this time and not just Prowess though. Like here is a little bit of a whoopsie for them. Next node is Mutant. So, antagonistic. Each time a mutant attacker knocks the defender down with a heavy attack, the attacker gains an unblockable buff lasting 3 seconds, plus 2 seconds for each buff on the attacker, max duration of 9 seconds. Cool. So you knock them down, you gain unblockable. Reckless Abandon. Each time a mutant attacker hits the defender with an unblockable attack, the attacker gains an indefinite Fury passive, increasing the attack rating by 35%. This seems fairly straightforward. Parry, heavy, hits them, gain Furies. Cool. Roll with the punches. Each time the defender receives a stun debuff, they reduce the duration of further stun debuffs by 20% unless the attacker has an active buff or prowess passive when the stun debuff is inflicted. Yeah, I think this one's straightforward. I don't have much problem with the reduction of stun because vast majority of the champions either have prowesses or buffs for most of the time. If you really want to, you can make sure that every single mutant has a prowess buff active if you bring in Captain America Infinity War synergy. So there you go. And Achilles Heel. The defender takes 20% reduced damage from all sources except special attacks, heavy attacks, and unblockable attacks. That's 20% is nothing. Whatever. Cool. Doesn't matter. Bring in Colossus, smash. Done. Science. 1-2 punch. Each time Science attacker knocks the defender down while they're suffering from a power sting, slow, or weakness effect, the defender is inflicted with a non-stacking Petrify passive, reducing the potency of power gain and regeneration effects by 50% for 10 seconds. Cool. Doesn't say the max stacks there or whether it stacks. Each time defender would gain power while suffering from Petrify, Enervate, or Suppression effects, Science attackers gain an indefinite Fury passive, increasing attack rating by 35%. This ability has 2-second cooldown. Fine. Every 15 seconds, the defender gains a power gain passive, granting 30% of max power over 8 seconds. So cool. So every 15 seconds, they gain some power, but the entire idea is to inflict power sting, slow, weakness, or Petrify, Enervate, or Suppression effects. Quite a lot of champions have access to those, and on top of that, if you happen to run Resonate Mastery, then every single champion has access to weakness. So I think there's going to be plenty of champions who can function well enough. How it is going to feel when they're actually going through this quest remains to be seen, but on paper, at the very least, plenty of champions have access to it. Let's go with Tech. High Voltage. Each time Tech attacker inflicts Power Drain, Power Burn, or Power Lock on the defender, inflict a shock passive, dealing 5% of base attack as energy damage over 12 seconds. So, a small shock for fairly long duration. Shocking Revelation. Each time the defender is inflicted with a shock effect, or when either champion uses special attack while the defender is suffering from shock effect, tech attackers gain an indefinite Fury passive. Seems fairly straightforward. Finally, an effect that Nebula can benefit from, because Nebula annoyingly couldn't really benefit from either of the Cav nodes so far. In Fighting Dirty, at the end of the defender's special attacks, they gain an unblockable passive lasting 8 seconds. Ooh, this is quite annoying. This ability does not trigger while the defender is suffering from a shock. Okay, fair play. This might be a bit trickier. But again, so you either want to Power Drain, Burn, or Lock the opponent a lot, which again, tech champions have Visions, tech champions have Guillotine 2099. Warlock can do it on his level 1. And yeah, there's several champions who even Guardian has access to some power burn or drain, and so does Starkenhand Spider-Man. So there is that, or you can just directly apply shock effects like Nebula, like Sentinel, like Warlock. And yeah, I do think that this one's going to be a bit more annoying. I think if anything, this node should have been where you have 5 stacks, not the skill one. Overall, again, it is tricky to say how fun or interesting these nodes are going to be without playing them, so we need to give them the benefit of the doubt for sure, because so far I think they have done a relatively decent job with Cavalier event quest, and I like the fact that they are keeping it interesting, fresh, and changing things up. Of all of these things, I absolutely hate this passive heal block thing. It just seems to be like more of an... I understand why it is there, but I don't like it. But that's obviously because I use certain set of masteries a lot. Other than that, we're gonna have to put our thinking caps a bit on for tomorrow or day after, and I'm gonna make a brief video suggesting best champions for each of these nodes before the quest comes out, so we are ready, set, and prepared. Obviously, the real test is going to be when the quest goes live. Other than that, let me know what you guys think about these new Cavalier buffs. That being said, I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the